Shocking events unfolded at Cedar Ridge Farm when a group of arrogant bikers decided to harass the wrong farmer. What they didn't know was that the quiet man tending to his crops was Daniel Carter, a decorated Navy SEAL with years of classified missions under his belt. Their attempted intimidation would soon become a lesson they'd never forget. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the fertile fields of Cedar Ridge Farm, a sprawling 200-acre testament to hard work and determination that had served the community of Millstone Valley for over 3 generations. The gentle breeze carried the sweet scent of ripening corn, while the distant sound of farm equipment provided a soothing rhythm to the day's end. The farm's reputation for producing the finest organic produce in the county had made it a cornerstone of local agriculture and a symbol of traditional values in an ever-changing world. Daniel Carter methodically inspected the irrigation system in his western field, his weathered hands moving with practiced precision as he adjusted the water flow. The former Navy SEAL had chosen this peaceful corner of Montana as his home after 16 years of service, finding solace in the honest labor and predictable cycles of farming life. His strong features and vigilant gaze spoke of experiences few could comprehend, but his modest demeanor had made him a respected figure in the farming community. Emma Wallace, the young agricultural engineer who had been helping modernize the farm's irrigation systems, worked efficiently alongside Daniel. She had known him since she first arrived in Millstone Valley 2 years ago, watching him transform Cedar Ridge from a struggling family farm into a model of sustainable agriculture. Today, she noticed his attention periodically drifting to the distant road, his military instincts never fully dormant. The regular farmhands knew Daniel's routine. He would start before dawn, personally inspecting each section of his land, exchanging brief but pleasant conversations with workers, and methodically tackling the day's challenges. Among his employees were local ranchers, college students earning summer money, and veterans who had found purpose in agricultural work. The farm was more than just a business. It had become a sanctuary for those seeking honest work and a connection to the land. Thomas Grady, the senior farmhand who had worked at Cedar Ridge for over 2 decades, was discussing the next day's harvest schedule with Daniel when the peaceful atmosphere was shattered by the thunderous roar of motorcycle engines. The sound grew steadily louder until several bikes appeared on the dusty access road, their chrome exhaust pipes glinting in the late afternoon sun. The riders, members of a group calling themselves the Iron Claws, dismounted their machines with an air of practiced intimidation. Their leader, a muscular man who went by the name Razor, wore a leather vest decorated with patches that hinted at a violent reputation. Behind him, 5 other bikers followed, their heavy boots kicking up dust as they approached the farm's main work area in the equipment yard. The atmosphere shifted immediately. The farmhands stopped their end-of-day tasks, some instinctively moving closer to the main barn, where tools could double as weapons if needed. Emma straightened beside the irrigation controls, her expression carefully neutral as she caught Daniel's reflection in the window of a nearby tractor. He hadn't moved, but there was a subtle shift in his posture that only those who knew him well would notice. The bikers spread out across the yard, their leather jackets creaking as they surveyed the scene. Razor's eyes scanned the property, a predatory smirk playing across his face. His second-in-command, a hulking figure known as Diesel, deliberately knocked over a stack of empty produce crates, sending them clattering across the packed earth. "Oops," Diesel growled, his insincere apology drawing snickers from his companions. The nearby workers kept their eyes down, continuing their tasks while staying alert to the developing situation. Thomas stepped forward, his voice professional but firm. "Welcome to Cedar Ridge Farm. Something we can help you with?" Razor's attention snapped to him, his smirk widening. Well, looks like we found ourselves a real friendly place." He strode toward the older man, closing the distance with deliberate slowness. "What do you say, old-timer? We're looking for some contributions to our motorcycle club's community fund." Daniel continued adjusting the irrigation controls, his movements deliberate and unhurried, though his awareness of the situation was evident in the slight tension visible across his broad shoulders. Thomas maintained his ground, decades of farming having taught him that showing weakness to predators only invited aggression. "We run a legitimate business here," Thomas replied, his voice steady despite the clear threat. "If you're looking to purchase our produce, we'd be happy to help you during regular business hours." Diesel laughed, a harsh sound that echoed across the yard. Maybe we want something that ain't for sale. He reached for a fresh tomato from a nearby sorting table, crushing it in his massive hand and letting the pulp drip between his fingers. I wouldn't do that if I were you. A calm voice cut through the tension. All eyes turned to Daniel, who had set down his tools but hadn't yet turned to face the bikers. His voice carried a quiet authority that made even Diesel hesitate, his hand frozen above another piece of produce. Razor's smirk faltered for a moment before returning with forced bravado. And who's going to stop us, farmer? The question carried a clear challenge as he took another step forward, attempting to use his height to intimidate. Daniel finally turned, his movements measured and controlled. His sharp, alert eyes met Razor's with unwavering intensity, just offering some friendly advice. It's your choice whether to take it. The atmosphere in the farmyard crackled with tension as two very different kinds of warriors sized each other up, one fueled by arrogance and intimidation, the other tempered by years of real combat experience. The next few moments would determine whether this evening would end in peace or escalate into something far more serious. The farmhands watched the confrontation with a mixture of concern and curiosity. They had never seen their employer in a situation like this. The rumors about his military background had circulated since he first purchased the property, and there was something in the way he carried himself now, a controlled power that seemed to radiate from his still form, that lent credence to those whispered stories about his past. Emma had positioned herself near the barn's entrance, her hand resting on her phone, ready to call for help if needed. But there was something in Daniel's demeanor that made her hesitate. She had seen him handle all manner of crises on the farm, from equipment failures to weather emergencies, always with the same calm, methodical approach. Now, facing a very different kind of threat, that same controlled confidence was evident in every measured movement. The silence that followed Daniel's words seemed to stretch endlessly across the farmyard, broken only by the distant call of circling hawks and the gentle rustle of cornstalks in the evening breeze. Razor's confident smirk transformed into a scowl as he studied the farmer more carefully. There was something in Daniel's steady gaze that gave even the most hardened troublemaker pause, the unmistakable look of a man who had faced real danger and emerged stronger. "You got something to say, farmer?" Razor's voice carried a dangerous edge as he shifted his weight, trying to find a more intimidating stance. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're trying to be some kind of hero on this little patch of dirt." Daniel wiped his hands slowly on a weathered work cloth, every movement deliberate and controlled. "No heroes here," he said evenly. "Just people trying to earn an honest living from the land." The next few seconds would decide everything.